10 days. That's all that's left before Freedom 250. And somehow, the biggest storylines on the card aren't the ones everybody's talking about. While fans debate champions, title fights, and betting odds, several massive storylines have quietly flown under the radar. And some of them could completely change how Freedom 250 is remembered. Because once fight night arrives, these stories won't be hidden anymore. They'll be impossible to ignore. Let's start with the biggest overlooked storyline on the entire card. Ilia Topuria isn't just fighting Justin Gaethje. He's fighting for superstar status. Think about it. Topuria already has the undefeated record. He already has the championship. He already has highlight reel finishes and confidence for days. But beating Gaethje on a stage like Freedom 250 is different. Gaethje has become one of the most respected names in MMA. Win or lose, fans trust his resume, fans trust his toughness. A win over Gaethje doesn't just add another name to Topuria's record, it changes his place in the sport. Suddenly, we're no longer asking if he's elite. We're asking if he's becoming the face of the next UFC generation. And that's a much bigger conversation, because another fighter is chasing a similar opportunity. Alex Pereira. Most people are focused on the matchup against Ciryl Gane, but the real story is what's at stake. A few years ago, Pereira was a middleweight. Now he's one win away from heavyweight gold. A former middleweight champion could leave Freedom 250 holding a heavyweight championship belt. That's not normal, that's historic. The challenge, of course, is Gane. He's faster than most heavyweights, more technical than most heavyweights, and probably the best mover Pereira has faced at this size. But if Pereira wins, the conversation changes overnight. We're suddenly talking about one of the greatest combat sports transitions ever. And honestly, that story might be bigger than the belt itself. But what happens if Pereira loses? Because that creates a completely different storyline. Let's talk about Sean O'Malley. His fight against Ayman Zahabi hasn't generated nearly as much attention as the title fights. That's exactly why it's dangerous. O'Malley enters with more pressure than people realize. Fans expect him to win. The UFC expects him to win. Most analysts expect him to win. That's rarely a comfortable position. Zahabi enters with momentum and almost nothing to lose. Those are the fighters who become dangerous. If O'Malley wins, people shrug and move on. If he struggles, the headlines write themselves. And if he loses, Freedom 250 suddenly becomes one of the biggest upset cards in recent memory. Sometimes the most important fights aren't championship fights. Sometimes they're expectation fights. What if the biggest upset of the night doesn't happen in a title fight? Because another sleeper storyline deserves attention. Diego Lopes. Lopes has quietly become one of the UFC's most exciting fighters. Every appearance seems to create new fans. Every performance feels memorable, and yet he's still not getting the attention of some bigger names. That's exactly why Freedom 250 matters. A dominant win over Steve Garcia could launch Lopes into a completely different tier of popularity. The UFC loves action fighters. Fans love action fighters, and Lopes delivers action every single time. He's one of those rare athletes who can become a star simply because people enjoy watching him compete. Don't be surprised if he leaves Freedom 250 with more momentum than several champions. That's how quickly things can change in this sport. But there may be one storyline nobody saw coming. The newcomers. Every massive card creates breakout performances. It happens constantly. A prospect nobody expected shines under the bright lights. A prelim fighter steals headlines. An unknown name suddenly becomes a fan favorite. Freedom 250 feels perfectly built for that kind of moment. The audience will be larger. The attention will be larger. The opportunity will be larger. And fighters like Hokit and several others lower on the card aren't just fighting opponents. They're fighting for recognition. One knockout, one submission, one unforgettable moment. That's all it takes. And those moments often become the stories people remember years later. Not every legend begins in a main event. So 10 days out, what's the biggest storyline fans are missing? It's not one fight, it's transformation. Topuria could become a superstar. Pereira could make history. O'Malley could face unexpected pressure. Lopes could become a household name. And a completely unknown fighter could change his life forever. That's what makes Freedom 250 feel different. The card isn't just about winners and losers, it's about careers changing in real time. 10 days from now, several fighters will wake up in completely different positions than they are today. Some will be bigger stars, some will be future title challengers, some will be wondering what went wrong. And that's why Freedom 250 feels so important. Because underneath the championships and the headlines, this card is really about opportunity. The biggest opportunities of some fighters' entire careers. That's the storyline most people are missing, and it's the reason Freedom 250 could end up being remembered long after the final fight ends. Now I want your take. Which overlooked storyline do you think will have the biggest impact when Freedom 250 is finally over?